Well, welcome out there to my program once again. Always a pleasure to be here and always a pleasure to have you out there watching. We're going to watch a film that I produced over 10 years ago, actually, back in 2006 in May. This is about a World War II veteran, Sergeant Joe Vincent, and it's quite a film. I found it. I was looking for some other things, and I ran across it, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity after 10 years to show it again. So it's a rerun, but it's very appropriate for this time and era. You'll watch and you'll see what an experience Sergeant Joe Vincent had. So let me just remind veterans out there, if they want to come on a program, let me know. Any organization, post, or just individual, an individual veteran or even a group. So get in touch with me and you come right on. Well, let's start it and watch the film. That's when I started, and I had the Veterans Issue show. Graham Veterans Issues. Glad to have you watching our program again. And this evening we have in studio a very special guest. His name is Joe Vincent, and Joe is a World War II veteran who served in Europe and also in the Pacific. Along with Joe this evening is Dennis Allen. Dennis is from the New Bedford Transition House, and Dennis has been here a few times before.
Yes, Richard, I have, and I thank you very much for asking me to come back again.
Well, welcome here, and Joe,
yes,
also welcome to the program.
thank you.
Now, before I get to talk to Joe, I'm going to ask Dennis, since the last time you've been here, how is the recovery fundraiser going?
The recovery program is going well. That's our annual fundraiser in July. It's going to be July 16th at Fort Tabor in New Bedford. That's in the south end, right by the beaches. And we have 5 local bands playing. We're going to have some raffles. The Red Sox have donated a couple of items for us to raffle.
Well, that's nice.
It is. We've got a couple of bicycles, a boys and a girls youth bicycle that we're going to raffle. And we've also got restaurant certificates and other things that we're going to raffle off to raise some money for the Veterans Transition House.
So if someone out there would like to make a donation, whether in a gift certificate or some sort of an item, they could contact the Transition House.
They can contact me at the Veterans Transition House, 20 Willis Street, New Bedford, Mass., or they can call me, 508-992-5313.
Now, Dennis, you mentioned that there could be a possibility that the Transition House will have a residence home for women?
Yes, the Transition House is for homeless veterans, and right now we only help male veterans. And Senator Mark Montigny, a strong advocate for veterans, is involved in trying to secure some funds so we can open a women's veterans house. And right now it's in the Senate budget, and I understand it's still going through conference, but we're very hopeful that we'll get that money from the Commonwealth. And along with that, we have requested from the Veterans Administration in Washington matching funds. And if we get both of those, then I anticipate having a women's program in place by this time next year.
Well, that's quite nice. Now, in the past, of course, there was never a facility for women.
No, if there was a homeless woman veteran from southeastern Massachusetts, she would have to go to Boston or Worcester and receive services there. So that she'd have to leave her hometown and her community to go get some support.
And nowadays, with many women in the armed forces, I imagine there's quite a need for that type of a facility.
There is. We got a call just last week, a young lady just back from Iraq, and her life situation had changed as far as the family goes, and she's sleeping on her sister's couch, and she's she's safe and she's okay there, but she was hopeful that she can get into our facility. And unfortunately, I had to say, well, we don't have a women's program right now. They directed her to Boston or to Worcester, and hopefully in the future we can help all veterans.
Now, you mentioned Senator Mark Montigny,
Yes.
and he's from the New Bedford area,
Yes, he represents New Bedford, Acushnet, Fairhaven, Dartmouth.
and he's working on,
He's working on securing some money in our budget. We receive funding from the Massachusetts Department of Veteran Services, and he's working on getting some more money so we can open a women's transition house.
well, that's really nice. Now, we know that today is Flag Day. And Flag Day is very important these days. Flag Day was adopted by the Continental Congress in 1777. And since then, we've had some sort of celebration on June 14th in regards to our flag. Now, you told me that you attended some sort of ceremony?
The mayor of New Bedford, Scott Lang, had a ceremony on the stairs of City Hall. We had a Flag Day ceremony. The Veterans Transition House Color Guard was there, as well as the New Bedford High School ROTC. Also, some representatives from the Sons of the American Revolution were there in period costume. And we had a couple of speakers. And I think, interestingly enough, the one speaker, Councilman Alves, mentioned that the Senate is one vote shy of getting another senator on board to pass legislation to protect the flag, so people cannot desecrate it. And he recommended that if you're interested in this, to contact both Senator Kerry and Senator Kennedy and ask them to get on board.
All right, so we're talking now about the Congress,
Yes, sir.
the federal level in regard to our flag.
Yes.
Well, that's very that's very nice. And Councilman Alves, that's from New Bedford.
Yes, Councilman David Alves, he's Councilor at Large, the Chairman of the City Council. He's also a veteran, a Vietnam era veteran.
Well, it seems like you've been pretty busy since the last time I had you on the program. And of course, it's always a welcome to have you here. But we also have, like I mentioned in the very beginning, a special guest, and that's Joe Vincent, a World War II veteran, a man who served this country and served it well. Joe,
Yes.
welcome to the program once again.
Thank you.
Now, Joe, I understand that, well, first of all, what branch of the service were you in when you started?
When I started, I was, after I got drafted, I was in the Yankee aircraft down in Camp Tyson, Tennessee. Now, that was a barrage balloon outfit. I don't know if you know anything about barrage balloons.
Well, maybe you can tell us, Joe.
What's that?
Maybe you could help us. What is that?
Well, barrage balloons were flown over all the western cities because of the Japanese submarines. They prevent an airplane from flying too low, and they have cables up in the sky on a balloon. It's like a small dirigible, and it has cables that run from the ground. And then they have the small barrage balloons that fly over the jeeps, and they used them at D-Day when they invaded Europe.
Now, go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
And I was in that outfit, and we went out to the Mojave Desert for desert maneuvers in August '43, and we were slated for the invasion of Africa. But you know, the Army, the rumor got around where we were going, so we didn't go to Africa. We went back to Tennessee.
Now, you did eventually get over to England?
Yes, what happened, I had transferred to the Air Force. The Air Force was Army then.
So
And
that was the Army Air Force.
Right, I became Air Force cadet, and they sent me to Miami Beach, and all kind of tests and everything, and I finally passed everything, and they sent me to a small college in North Carolina to get all the, technical stuff. I was slated to be a bombardier, and I had about 4 weeks to go, and all at once they were getting ready for the invasion of Europe. So I had infantry basic, and everybody that had infantry basic went back into the Army. 50,000 of us were sent back to the ground forces. They sent me to Camp McCall, part of the 82nd Airborne glider troops.
And so you were in the infantry, and were you airborne, Joe?
Well, I was for a month, and then the Army decided they needed some Indian engineering maintenance outfits to maintain their equipment in Europe. So I was an electrician before I went into service, electrician in a shipyard, and my records showed that, and they transferred me to the 1474th Engineer Maintenance Company. When I was in that outfit, I went to England, France, Germany, back to France, and eventually I ended up in the Philippine Islands with them.
So you had quite a we might call an adventure. You got over to England and then crossed the Channel to Europe.
Right.
Now, are you you're a New Bedford native?
No, well, Fairhaven
Fairhaven.
and Acushnet. I was drafted out of Acushnet.
And when you were drafted, where were you initially sent?
Well, I was sent to South Boston Army Base, and then they put us on a train and went to Camp Tyson, Tennessee. The barrage blew out.
Oh, and how did you hook up with Dennis Allen over here?
Well, I tell you, I had the VA gave me a computer. They had a new program for the blind to learn how to operate computers.
Yeah.
They gave me a computer, which, by the way, cost $10,000.
Wow.
And I got the computer and everything, and it was sitting on the floor. So the guy called me up. He was supposed to teach me. And I said, well, where's my work table? Oh, we don't provide that. So I called Boston, and I told the girl there, I can't work. I have to have a work table. Oh, we don't provide that. But I said, well, then you can have the computer back. He says, I can't do that. It's yours. So anyway, 3 hours later, she called me up, and she gave me somebody down at the Veterans Transition Center. I don't know who it was.
Yeah, Joe, I think, as I remember, the woman called Dan LeBlanc, who was the
Yeah,
veteran.
right, LeBlanc, right.
Dan LeBlanc is the veteran agent in New Bedford,
Right.
and he's also on the board of directors of Veterans Transition House, and he knows that we frequently get donations of furniture, clothing, as well as money, and he called me and asked if we had a computer desk. I said, yeah, we get furniture all the time, and gave me Joe's number, and I called, I think I talked to Blanche, your wife Blanche, for the first time. You and Blanche been married a couple of years, have you, Joe?
What's that?
I said, you and Blanche have been married for a couple of years?
It'll be 60 years this fall.
Wow, 60 years.
That's
And
right.
we have Blanche. Blanche is here in the audience. You want to say hello to Blanche? She's
Hi, sis. Hi, hon.
well. Blanche is here with you tonight, Joe. Well, so that's how you get to know Dennis at the
That's
transition.
right. He brought me the computer table on a Friday or Saturday, and next thing I know, Monday, he's there with another computer table, a much better one.
Wow.
So in the meantime, he got a donation of a chair from Staples Electronics.
Yeah. I got a new and better table, so I gave Joe the one that just came in. I also contacted Staples and asked if they could donate a computer chair, because I didn't have a decent chair. And the Staples Corporation, actually the store in Wareham, was able to donate a chair for Joe.
Yeah.
Now, you also, Dennis, I understand that you got involved with obtaining medals for people, vets.
Yes.
Maybe you can explain that.
Yes, Richard. I had a fellow stop in, World War II veteran, stopped in 2 weeks ago, and he lost his medals years ago in a move or something, and he stopped in and asked if I could help him get replacement medals. So I said, sure. I mean, that's not hard to do if you know where to go.
Yeah, right.
And so we went on the internet and we searched the National Personnel Records Center, which is in St. Louis, Missouri. And if you search that on the internet, it has a website, and it tells you where to click if you want to request the personnel records or replacement medals.
So when you say personnel records of your own,
Yes.
and on that, it'll indicate the medals that the veteran was awarded.
The way I understand that it works, the National Personnel Records Center will pull the record, and then in Joe's case, if it was Joe, they would forward it to the Army liaison there. The Army liaison would review the record and then verify which awards that the person's eligible for, and then mail them out.
All right, so mail the medals?
Yes, sir.
All right, so in other words, if Joe were to lose some of his medals, he could obtain
Replacements.
replacements. Well, that's interesting. I mean, you
Yeah.
have and there's a website for that, so people could.
No, I just called Jefferson Barracks, and they sent them to me.
There's a couple of different places that you can request the medals from. If you search online, you're going to get 100 different places
I
that you
see.
can go to. Some cost money, some don't. The VFW will help. The blind veterans organizations will help. But if you want to go to the source where I think all the other organizations go to, that's the National Personnel Records Center.
I see.
And it can take up to 6 months to get it through them.
Well, Joe,
Yeah.
now you were in Europe and you made it all the way into Germany.
Well, I landed in a place called Bad Kreuznach, Germany. And then I got into Darmstadt, Germany, and right across the river, Rhine River, the engineers, we built a bridge there across the Rhine. And what is that? Anyway, in that city, in a city there where Eisenhower made his headquarters, there was one building left standing, the I.G. Farben building.
Well, that was a big chemical factory.
Right. And the orders were to the bombers not to bomb it. So when we took over the city, that became Eisenhower's headquarters. In the meantime, we had to go down to Darmstadt, which is, maybe 80 miles south of there, and we had to go through, whatever, I forget the name of that. Anyway, we had to go through Mainz on the Rhine River, and that was a big railroad center. But to get through to the highway to Darmstadt, where they had to use bulldozers to plow the streets, so we'd go through. There was only that one building left.
So all the streets were all full of rubble?
All bombed out, yes,
Yeah.
very, very much. The Germans had one word for the Air Force, gross, which is large.
Well, I guess they didn't like it, right? But, so, once you were in Germany, what were you doing there? Was the fighting still going on, or?
Well, we occupied this town of Bad Kreuznach, which was a big center for German prisoners. And the fellows that were guarding the German prisoners were from the 106th Lionhead Division, and we were maintaining the equipment for them. So the 1474th, we were attached to 1132nd Combat Engineers, and you do everything. You check the roads for mines, and if they got a broken down piece of equipment, you go over and repair it, and so forth. And anyway, Bad Kreuznach became the center for American Army, the Army Intelligence. That's what it is right now, a big intelligence center.
So, then after, excuse me, after you, how long did you stay in Germany?
Well, I landed in Germany. I left the States on March the 3rd from Camp Shanks, New York. Landed in Wales first, Cardiff, Wales. Then we were stationed there in England 4 weeks, and then he shipped us to Taunton, Mass, England. Was there one night, and they marched us through the streets at night because the British, the population didn't like us because of all the bombing that we caused by the Germans. We shipped out of Portsmouth and landed at across the North Sea, and we couldn't land at the docks because the docks were all bombed out. So we had to land, get on an LCI and go up the river, the Seine River. And then we had to get off trucks They took trucks and took us to a place called the cigarette camps, where they prepared us to go into Germany.
So once in Germany, you stayed there for a few months, or?
Well, Germany was there, landed there in the first part of April, and we were assigned to do different things, and then the war ended on May the 9th. And when May the 9th, I was down in Darmstadt, which is about 80 miles south on the other side of the river. Bad Kreuznach is 8 miles from the Rhine River on this side. And we were getting ready to be the Army of Occupation with Patton's, the 15th Army.
Right.
And the first thing you know, we get orders, we get moving.
So you had to pull out?
So they shipped us, or they took our all our equipment, and we drove from Germany to Marseille, France. And in Marseille, we got everything ready, got rid of all of our winter equipment, got summer clothes, summer equipment, and 4 weeks later, we got on a ship, USS Brazil, a 22,000-ton liner, 5,000 troops on that ship.
And heading for where?
We're headed for the Philippines by way of the Panama Canal.
Wow, that was a trip.
40 days.
So you went from Europe on a big ship with 5,000 other troops
That's right,
down to the Panama Canal,
right,
and then heading for the Philippines.
along the equator, stopped at Etowitok Atoll where they tested out the A-bomb, and then we had to go up the head of the Philippines because the Japanese submarines were down the other way in, and we landed at Manila.
Well, I'm glad that you're here, Joe. Dennis, you found someone with quite a bit of experience. I mean, we're heading now toward the Philippines.
Yeah, I think meeting Joe was like finding a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Every time I meet him, there's something new that I learn about him. Today I met, or at that city hall, there was a fellow there, Sons of the American Revolution. And I mentioned that to Joe, and Joe has traced his ancestry back to, well, you got 3 ancestors that fought at Bunker Hill, right, Joe?
That's right.
And then you trace your ancestors back how far?
1255 in England.
1255.
1255.
Chad's Crossing in England, where Richard the Lionhearted stayed at the Abbey there.
So every time I meet Joe, I learn something new, and he's just a pleasure to talk to.
And you know, Joe, you got a pretty good memory because you're coming out with a lot of things that, you know, I'm sure that most people have forgotten long ago. Now, once out into the Pacific, did you have any sort of escort for your ship? Were you in a convoy or other?
Oh no, we was in the ocean liner all by ourselves because it was a high speed, well, it was doing 22 knots an hour. That's, you know, good speed. So we had no protection otherwise than that. Of course, we had the armed guard from the Navy on the ship, about 20 men, I guess.
But what about submarines?
Well, submarines were still around, but we didn't have any protection from that.
Wow. No destroyer escorts?
Well,
A
the
destroyer?
Air Force was around, but they were still fighting in the Philippines, you know. And when we were just about ready to land in at Manila, when the Japanese they bombed Hiroshima and with the atom bomb, and the Japanese were getting ready to surrender. So I was at the German surrender in Europe, and I was at the Japanese surrender in the Philippines.
But you told us that you apparently you got wounded.
Oh, the war ended, but that didn't mean much because there were thousands of Japanese soldiers that didn't give up. They wouldn't believe that the emperor, you know, told them to quit. So they went back into the hills and, you know, conducted guerrilla tactics. So they sent us from Manila 60 miles north to a town called Rosales. And in the hills behind Rosales, the Japanese were there all the time. So every now and then they would send a bunch of us out to flush them out of the caves there. Well, at night, we had the armed guard, square guard, back to back, because these guys used to come down, Japs used to come down from the hills and raid all the camps there. to get supplies.
It's 7 o'clock p.m.
And we had a outfit across the street, a Signal Corps outfit, and they were trigger happy. At least noise, and they would start shooting. We used to have to buy up all the dead water buffalo and eat them.
So shooting the buffalo.
Well, water buffalo's good if you get
Yeah.
pounded enough.
So once you got to Manila, and the Japanese or Japan actually surrendered, there were still Japanese troops in the hills that
Oh
had
yeah,
to be
there were lots
suppressed.
of them, thousands of them.
And that was part of your duty, is to get up there and, like you said, flush them out.
Yeah, and where we were, Rosales, there was nothing but, I guess, a few houses, a Red Cross building with one Red Cross volunteer, and all we had there was Kool-Aid. And we had these kids, tent boys. The Army hired and paid them to maintain our equipment. See, we lived in tents, quad tents. And the woman of the village way back, they were living way back in the hills, they used to do our laundry, and the tent boys used to clean up around the tents and stuff for us.
Well, Joe, how many were in your outfit?
Oh, let's see, there was 230 men in our company.
230. So you were back in infantry?
No, this was engineers now.
Okay.
And all the officers, most of them were either guys that had been, like our captain, he had served in Greenland 18 months, came back to the States to come with us, and then we were in Germany, and he thought he had it made, but next thing you know, we were in the Philippine Islands.
So you traveled from Europe by ship all the way to the Philippine Islands. And how long did that take, Joe?
Well, we went to Marseille, France. We shipped out of Marseille, and that took 40 days.
40 days. That must have been, and that wasn't too comfortable with 5,000.
Well, yeah, but I was lucky. I was an electrician, so they assigned me to work with the ship's electricians. And believe it or not, during the war, they only worked 40 hours a week. So on top of that, one of the members of the crew used to be my newspaper boy in Connecticut, in Acushnet. So on the weekend, I ate with them.
So you had some, did you have what, Navy chow?
I had good chow,
Good chow.
civilian chow, because these guys were civilians. And then I had the Navy chow on the weekend, and boy, these guys really eat, I'll tell you.
So how long did you stay in the Philippines, Joe?
Well, I landed in the Philippines just about the end of August, and I was there until the middle of December. That's when they started a point system to discharge you. So many days in the Army, so many days overseas, so many combat ribbons and stuff like that, and so many awards, you got points for them.
Okay, we're going to have to, half hour is going by quick, and we're going to come to the end of the program. I want to thank you, Joe. I have on my program here Joe Vincent from Fairhaven, who served in World War II, and, well, quite an experience and quite a story. And I want to thank Dennis from the New Bedford Transition House for bringing Joe along, and thank you again, Dennis, for being here.
Thank you very much, Richard. It's a pleasure.
We're going to see you again soon.
Okay.
I want to thank the technical staff. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I did. It's a reminder of basically when I started off about 10 years ago here in the studio. Joe was not my first guest, but one of the earlier ones, and you can, as you listen, quite an experience being in World War II. So I hope you enjoyed it, and once again, any veterans out there that'd like to come on, give me a call. I'll get you on the show. Thank you for watching.